Boom to the hey, all you sports fans out there in the tubosphere, to you, the individual, as part of the collective. Welcome to Fast Track Sports Records here on Talk Radio version of the OMSR. I am your brief but concise host, Will, the alternative ESPN Sports Thrill. Always do a little show like this and like that. Let you know the clip order coming up and the whys to wherefores. You get a significantly longer highlights reel that way, plus the quickie sport rant of the segment. So, talk briefly and concisely about Miracle of Miracles. Hey Virginia, there is an Ncaa who can act quickly. Discussion on The Herd about a quick change where or when regarding the subject of a meal stipend that's just now going to be comped. I mentioned this was taken from The Herd with Colin. I just like saying it that way. Colin's like the OMSR version who's got himself more established. Of course, he had a head start on it. So I like his style. I tend to be not as in, how do I say this? I respect all of you potential listeners and, slash viewers. Regardless if there's a difference of opinion, as long as you conduct yourself with class, it's all good. Anywho, the Shabazz Napier comments and Calipari added on to that. That's on the channel, by the way, Calipari's interview. Sort of like blowing the lid open on this particular subject. So the Quickie Sport Rant, I'm going to give you some good search terms. I did research this as to why this never seems to be a problem with football as it is with basketball players, and how do you figure out the value of a scholarship? Roll clips.
Now, The Herd with Colin Calvert on ESPN Radio.
ESPNradio.com.
Oh, it's The Herd on ESPN Radio. Wherever you may be, however you may be listening, thanks for making us part of your day. Presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our guests via the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. Simulcast on ESPN. You be very careful. Don't take no for an answer. You've heard that kind of sales mantra for years. Don't take no for an answer. A lot of it's really true. People can change if they want to. You just got to talk them into it. You got to get the leverage from them. But even our government can be forced into doing things they don't want to if the PR's bad enough. Big, gigantic billion-dollar companies, if you enlist the help of the media, we can sometimes force people to, big companies, to do things quickly when they don't want to do it quickly. The reality is the answer is usually yes. People find a way to say no. I mean, you look around at people, you can do almost anything. I mean, our government shut down the entire aviation system in 2.5 hours. Our government could do anything they wanted to. They just don't want to. They're not being embarrassed. They're not being threatened. They usually have the leverage, and we as the public don't. Here's a great example. NCAA is a billion-dollar corporation. They create a 4-team college football playoff. Should be 8. And when you ask them why should it be 8, well, it take years. We need a task force. Oh, really? Ah, interesting. Look what happened this week by the big, gigantic, powerful NCAA. We had March Madness a couple weeks ago, right? And their whole thing is, hey, we can't pay these players. We'll run out of cash here. They can't be employees. We have a rigid system that will not be moved under any circumstances. It would take legislative action. It would take committees. Oh, okay. So Shabazz Napier for UConn comes out after they win a championship and says, I go to bed hungry some nights. Uh-oh, that don't look good for a billion-dollar organization. Uh-oh. Then John Calipari comes on my show and starts making fun of the whole issue with Shabazz Napier and kids can't eat.
3 years ago, I wrote about this. Why are we worried about food? Are we going to make these kids fat? That's our thing. We're going to be, the advantage we have is we can feed them so much they can't run up and down the court. Are you out of your mind? A seasoned athlete needs to eat 6 times a day. We can give them a bagel But we can't give them peanut butter or I'll be arrested. And there goes Calipari again. That's how he gets players. He gives them peanut butter.
So, NCAA, we need committees. Paying players, this is outrageous. This would take years of comprehension. The NCAA came out yesterday. We just changed stuff. Kids can eat all they want. The NCAA Council approved meals, other student-athlete well-being rules. Oh, what do you know? Unlimited student-athlete meals and snacks overnight. Why? Because they look bad. And they didn't like looking bad. And overnight they changed it. Whether you think college players should be paid or not, take that out. They could pay them tomorrow if they wanted to. And by the way, your boss could give you a raise if he wanted to. It wouldn't shut the company's doors. I mean, this is a great example how big governing bodies, corporations, our government, the NCAA, oh, we need more information. It is a process. We will need a task force. No, you don't. Just have to embarrass you. You'll make things happen. That's all it is. That's why employees at big companies, even like this one sometimes, they'll leak stuff. Why? Puts the company in a little uncomfortable light and things get done. That's why there's whistleblowers. That's why there's leakers. That's every company in this. You get stuff done immediately. We just don't demand it enough, nor do we enlist the help of the media or bodies that will help us get our stuff. Well, I mean, Stephen Colbert is a great example. He's at Comedy Central. He has a contract. Suddenly, he's at CBS overnight for Letterman's job. How did he get out of the contract? CBS and Viacom used to be partners. They're not anymore. That split years ago. So CBS and Viacom, they just figured out a way to get that guy to that show because it makes more money. They just figured out a way. Car dealer, you ever go to buy a car? Listen, manager says I can only, really? I'm walking out. Okay, I'll make this. Oh, I thought you said that. Can I tell you a story? A little story about this. Years ago, I've told this story a couple times. True story. So I'm coming up through the ranks. I'm a local broadcaster doing a bunch of stuff, right? And sports radio about 15 years ago, it was 15, 16, was just getting prominent. I was a TV guy because that's the only job I could do. I was doing little newspaper side stuff. I was doing TV local. And then sports radio started happening about 16, 17 years ago. So I sit down with a guy, and I had filled in for a couple months. And pretty quickly, it became pretty obvious that I was a little more fitted to be better on the air than the guys they had, okay? So blah, blah, blah. So the manager comes to me, and he says, you know what? I think you're better than what I have, and I'm going to offer you this. Tom Baker was his name. And this is exactly how the conversation went. I already had a TV job, so I didn't need the income. I was going to do it if they gave me a fair offer. And he goes, you know what? I'd like to make you an offer to be our new afternoon host. And this was like 15 years ago. And sports radio didn't really pay back then. So it was not a very good offer. And I'll just make up a number. He said I'll give you $36,000 a year. And this is exactly what he said. I can remember the room. He was a really nice guy, but he was cheap. So he said $36,000. He goes, Colin, I'll have to turn the lights off if I pay you a penny more. I'll have to turn the lights off. This is so outrageous. At $36,000 a year, I'll have to literally fire people. And I said, well, nah, I got a TV job. No thanks. I'll double it. One sentence. One sentence. Well, I'll turn the lights off. Not interested. Okay, I'll double it. What do you mean? Say no. Say no all the time. The most powerful thing in the world. Just do it over and over. I mean, the NCAA literally got made fun of. It looked really, really bad, and overnight, all right, you can feed players all you want, snacks, the whole 9 yards. Yeah, we'll furnish you with pretzels. We'll bring you to your dorm room. You break. Your fully furnished Regis office, 1-800-OFFICES. Receptionist answers calls. IT pros to get you connected. Regis.com/sports. 2 months free or 1-800-OFFICE. The other thing is, yeah, I saw something else. I don't have time to get into it right now because I want to get into this. Is Donald Trump wants to buy the Buffalo Bills. He and John Bon Jovi, who makes a lot of money apparently. I mean, Bon Jovi has done really well. They're always like number 2 or 3. You know, they're 2 or 3 in the world in like global revenues touring. They do really well. They have forever. They were always much better than the critics said. I mean, they do pretty good music. All right, don't say, you know, there's 2 or 3 things we all liked in the '80s. Just come clean with it. We liked Bon Jovi. Get over it. They were good. Okay. I know it's not cool to say that, but everybody liked Bon Jovi. We all made out to Bon Jovi at some point. Yeah, I mean, we all made out to this song. Everybody sang this song, so just get over it. I know you were too cool that you didn't like Vanilla Ice. I didn't like him either. But we all liked Bon Jovi. So, yeah, right now the Bill fans are living on a prayer because Donald Trump may buy the organization. Right? He wants to buy the organization. And everybody's like, oh, he moved the organization. Well, if given the option of Toronto and Buffalo, wouldn't you move to Toronto? What is this thing about once a city has a team, you get it forever? Perpetuity. Why? We change partners. We change cities. We change area codes. We change jobs. Corporate headquarters move. Cities shrink. Cities grow. Rust Belt, Sun Belt. Buffalo's lost 53% of its population at its peak. Toronto's got 3 million people. Wacko mayor, but 3 million people. Called the world's 3rd best city, sometimes 2nd. This idea that if I buy an NFL team, I have to keep it. Even the NFL's committee on moving franchises says you only got to give a city 4 years. Got to give a city about 4 years, Jacksonville, Buffalo, and then stadium's empty, there's no momentum, you can't make money, then you're allowed to put it on the table and we can vote on it. But it's so funny that we all love mobility, right? We change partners, change girlfriends, change clothes, change job, change... But the idea of moving a team... Folks, Buffalo shrunk. So's Detroit, so's Hartford, Connecticut. I live near Hartford. It's just shrunk. I mean, it's just the reality. The idea that you have to keep teams places when there's viable options and you can see it right down the road, Toronto, is remarkable.
All right. Some good stuff there. Colin had some, valid points. He always has valid points. That's why I like covering it. That's why I like bringing you guys some of the best sound bites. Maybe you can't listen to radio at work. Certainly don't have time to necessarily watch TV. So if and when you can, I wholeheartedly recommend you watch the full 3 hours. Obviously, the OMSR sponsor being the DMCA. I can't, there's no way in anybody's right mind on YouTube, when you're borrowing from others' content, that you go beyond that's what I like to call the 6 to 9, no Snickers, threshold. Alright, so on the Quickie Sport Rant of the segment, the search term I used was monthly allowance for NCAA athletic scholarship. Now, I prefer Ask, you use whatever you like, but based on what came up on ask.com. First article right away underneath all the ads, talking about, football players don't necessarily have it as bad or have it bad based on the value of the scholarship. The value of that scholarship different per player. And is the value higher for football players than basketball? Because you never hear about football players complaining about food. They're obviously bulking up, gaining weight. I certainly gain weight working out. I'm gaining weight in my 40s from working out still. Good weight. But with basketball players, some of the articles that came up based on that search string I gave you seemed to be like a struggle. Most notably, like a dude, a good player, Kansas State, couldn't play in the tournament, 2-3 years ago, over a $200, transaction between him and a booster that he allegedly needed for food, which sounds ridiculous until you hear Shabazz Napier talk about that there wasn't enough left over based on the value of his scholarship for food. So at least kudos to the NCAA for waking it up, right? So all the video highlights courtesy to ESPN. And one more time, The Herd with Call It. Everything else to the OMSR. Okay, thanks for watching. We are later out of here.